And what's happening is, it's like if you pull your hair here, your scalp hurts.
Right.
Everybody's looking at the scalp. They're doing tests on the scalp. They're massaging the scalp. They're giving you drugs for the headache. They're doing all, but nobody's looking at the fact that you're pulling your hair.
Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast, and today I have with me Julie Donnelly. Julie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Tenya. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Julie, you are a massage therapist who has really gone into the world of helping people with chronic pain on a muscular level that really does go to a cellular level as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I don't call it massage. I haven't called it massage for years, actually, because, people have a vision of massage. This is massage.
Right.
Use oil, you're naked. With me, you stay dressed, and it's very, very muscle specific. So I call it osteopathic muscular therapy.
Okay. I love that. Can you say that again?
Osteopathic
muscular therapy. Osteopathic muscular therapy. Very cool.
I had the good fortune at the very beginning of my career that we might get into, or maybe not, but of being trained by an osteopath who realized that I wanted to learn more than most therapists want to learn. And so he taught me.
Nice. I love that. So how did you initially get into this line of work? Because it definitely sounds like that it has evolved from when you originally started to work with people.
Absolutely. What happened was I lived in Hawaii at the time, which was pretty wonderful. And we were sailing. And on Friday nights, we used to have a race. And the fella that was the spinnaker is that real pretty sail that's on the front, the colorful one. Well, during a race, that's a really, really stressful position. And when we were all getting off the boat, cleaned up the boat, we were all getting off, and Adam just collapsed in the grass and literally withering in pain. I mean, literally. And everybody is passing by. And so I knelt down and I said to him, "What can I do to help you?" And he said, "Oh, just rub my back." So I started to rub his back, and I knew nothing about the body. I mean, nothing about the body. And so I'm rubbing his back, and I'd feel a bump. And when I'd feel this bump, he would jump. So I knew I had found something important. So I kept my finger on it, didn't know what to do with it, but kept my finger on it so I wouldn't lose it. And then it, like an ice chip melting under your finger, it just melted. Mm-hmm. And when that would happen, he would go, like relief.
Right.
So I'd look for another bump. He'd jump, I'd hold it, it would melt, he'd get relief. And I was looking to change careers at that time, but couldn't figure out what I wanted to be doing. And then eventually people every week started watching to see what I was doing to help Adam. And finally, one time I said to somebody, "Do you think people would pay to have me do this?" And she said, "Getting them out of pain? Yeah, they'll pay." I said, "What do you think it is?" She says, "I have no idea." So I was being stationed back in New York. And she said, "Well, when you get back to New York, go to a massage school and ask them." So I did. I went and I asked them, and they said, "Well, you're not doing massage, but you do need to have a massage license in order to be able to touch people."
Okay.
So that's how I became a massage therapist.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then you said that you worked with an osteopath.
Well, the way that happened was I was working on a cruise ship, my first job out of
love cruises.
It was like you died and went to heaven. It was truly the most fun year of my entire life. You work hard.
Yeah. Oh, when we go on cruises and we see when you see the same people working in different areas of the ship day after day, and they don't get a break for that 7 days. Like, cruise people don't get breaks for like however long their contract is.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit better as the massage therapist. I had set hours. Mm-hmm. And there weren't really any days off, but there were set hours.
Right.
And I got to go on all of the tours, because they always have, if you've noticed, when you go on a land tour, there's always somebody from the ship with you. That's for insurance purposes.
Yep.
So I used to get to go on tours every week. And I mean, it was great. But
That's awesome.
I think you saw my TED Talk.
I did.
Right, where I was talking about how I found that I really hated doing massage, like traditional massage. I hated it. But I love being on the ship, so I wasn't going to stop. But I had to do something to make it acceptable to me that I was doing massage. Now, nothing against massage therapists out there. I love to go for a massage. And I tell people they're great for your circulation, they're great for relaxation, but that's not what I wanted. Anyway, so I ended up making the whole time on the ship become a classroom. And I called it the muscle of the day. And every day I would take one muscle and I'd really study it before the passengers would start coming. And then they would come in and I would do, standard Swedish massage on every muscle except that one muscle. And on that one muscle, I would go much deeper and slower. And if I felt anything, I'd say, does that hurt? And they'd say yes or no. But sometimes they say, well, you're pushing here, but I'm feeling it here. So I'd run over to my desk and I'd say, pushed here, felt there. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't leave the massage room until I figured out why, if I pushed here, did you feel it there? And I'd write it in my notebook. And then the next day would be another muscle.
It's a great way to learn.
Yeah. And the thing is, on the ship, I mean, I was seeing 12, I did half hours, but I was seeing 12 people a day. Well, if we're talking bicep, that's 24 biceps.
Right.
That I studied today. And a normal, if I had gotten a job, say in a spa or someplace, you would never see that many people. Right. So the fact that I was on the ship gave me this like unending supply of subjects, let's say. And it was wonderful. Plus, I found that I was, I would find something and then their pain would go away, which the TED Talk talks about that. So we'll let the audience go on.
That link will definitely be in the show notes.
The name of the TED Talk is called The Pain Question No One Is Asking.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it was definitely a good talk when I was like, oh, maybe that's why I feel pain when I push on here and I feel it over here. So that has definitely happened. And knowing that everything is connected. Right. I know that everything is connected, but the person down the street who is more analytical, more logical, they're not going to make those connections. So if you push on, say, your shoulder and you feel it in your lower arm, there's a connection there.
And back to the osteopath, the way that happened, when I got off the ship, I got off in St. Thomas. And so I ended up having a client who was an osteopath who very quickly found out that I wanted to learn as much as I could possibly learn about the body. And so what we would do is I would give him his massage. They had a table at their condo. I'd give him his massage. Then I would give his wife her massage. And then he would come back in and then teach me an osteopathic technique that was valid with my license.
Okay.
And then the three of us would have lunch, and then his wife would go off about what she was going to be doing. And he and I would sit on the lanai and just talk muscles the whole afternoon. And he talked, why this muscle hurts, why this muscle causes that pain. I mean, it was an education I could not have paid for.
Right. And can you explain what an osteopath is versus a massage therapist?
Oh, an osteopath is a doctor.
Okay.
But like a medical doctor specializes, like their internal medicine, their gastroenterology, whatever. An osteopath looks at the whole entire body.
Okay.
The osteopath was the original chiropractor.
Oh, okay.
But they just look at the whole body. They look at how your nutrition is causing you to have a cough.
Okay.
I mean, they just look at everything. So
Yes.
I was truly blessed that this man just took an interest and would spend the whole day with me. Like I said, it's an education I could never have paid for.
Right. So one of the questions that I would love to know the answer to is, why do muscles get tight? Right. Before we go into, fixing the pain, because obviously that's a result of doing something that our body doesn't like.
Right.
Your body, your muscles get tight. So why do our muscles get tight, or why do they get knots?
Well, it's repetitive strain injury. Excuse me. It's repetitive strain injury. Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time at least.
Okay.
And so let's say you're out and you're gardening. And so you're bending over, you're kneeling down, you're bending over, and your arms are in front of you and you're digging. The muscles that pulled you into that position stay static in that position. And so the muscle, we're going to say it's talking to itself, and it says, well, I'm really not supposed to be this long, but I guess that's how long she wants it to be. Okay, fine, I'll switch it. Boom, you're that long. So now you've been there for a long time and you try to stand up, but now the muscle thinks it's supposed to be shorter. Because it thinks it's supposed to be shorter, and you try to stand up and lengthen it, it goes, no way, I'm not supposed to be that long. And so it's pulling. It's kind of like people will say to me, well, I stretch, I should be okay. And what I say is, if you took a rope that was 12 inches long, tied knots along it, and made it 10 inches long, and then you wanted to stretch it back to 12, you could do it. But what did you do? You made the knots tighter, and you overstretched the fibers that are not in the knot.
That was such a great analogy when you said that in your talk. I was like, that makes so much sense.
It's so logical. Well,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. The body, I mean, I just absolutely love it. I can't learn enough. And nobody knows everything. No, I don't care who you, nobody knows everything.
Right.
And I just can't learn enough. And to come up with the logic of the body, like I'm forever, when I'm talking to my clients, I don't use all the big 25-cent words. You don't need it. First of all, most of the time it's going to go on most people. And then you make them feel like they're stupid or whatever. And that's not the case at all. It's just that it's not something that we've learned. It's like, don't talk to me about computers, because I may as well be in third grade when you're talking to me about computers.
Yeah.
Well, everybody has their thing. But what happens, so now the muscle has contracted like that, and now it's too short. And so the other thing that happens, so you've heard of lactic acid.
Yes.
So the way that this doctor explained it to me was, so lactic acid is two elements. It's lactate, which is a part of the energy cycle. And without lactate, we don't move at all. But just like burning a log will give you energy and you end up with a pile of ashes, burning lactate gives you energy and you end up with a pile of acid called hydrogen ions. And the body needs hydrogen ions for, I don't know, around 300 different processes in the body, could probably be more. And so you need to have it. But what's happening is the body mutates very slowly. So as far as mutation is concerned, we're still back in the pyramids, time of pyramids. Well, it would get dark and you would have an oil lamp. So you would turn your oil lamp on for a little while, but you didn't want to burn up all your oil. And so you'd go to bed. And then in the morning, you might get up before light and you turn your oil lamp on, but again, just for a little while. And so when you were still, the body had the chance to get rid of all this excess hydrogen ions. But now we go to the gym, we work until midnight, we go out dancing. It's like we're creating more hydrogen ions than the body needs. But the body is efficient. And so it says, oh, well, we don't need that, but I'll hang on to it. You never know, something might be coming up. and it stores it in the muscle. And now the muscle ends up shortening. When I'm pushing on people, or when you're doing it to yourself, because I'm going to teach you
Right.
to do something yourself, it hurts. And the way I explain it to people is that you're forcing the acid out.
Right.
And it's an acid. And so it hurts. But you always do it like I tell people, never, never go beyond your tolerance level. There are some
Right.
therapists who, it's like, if deep is good, deeper is better. That's not true.
Yeah, I have to agree.
And the thing is, right, it's what you want is, you want that hurt so good. Like when you push on something, you go, oh, that really hurts, but it feels so great.
Right.
That's
You
what
don't want to go beyond that.
You don't ever want to go beyond that. And
Yeah.
my clients know, even clients who've been coming to me for years, I'm still saying, is that too much? Are you okay? Don't forget to tell me if it's too
Right.
much.
Right. Because you don't know. You can't feel the tenderness. You can't feel
Yeah.
the pain that they're feeling.
Right.
So they still have to tell you,
right. And
how deep can you go?
Most of the time, I'm really good about knowing where to stop.
Yeah.
But like you said, sometimes it can be too much. And so they all know that all they have to do is go, it's a bit much.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is back off a fraction.
Right.
It becomes okay. And then you wait a little while, and then you'll actually be able to add that back in because acid has come out.
Right.
And it goes into your bloodstream, and then you have to drink a lot of water. That's why they always tell you after a massage, drink water, so that you can flush out whatever acid has been knocked out of the muscle fiber.
Right. Because I learned that your urine, and I think this is true, but your urine actually comes from the toxins and stuff. It's coming out of your blood. It's coming out of your muscles into your bladder, and that's how it empties.
Right. Which is why when they're looking to do a liver detox or something, they have you pee in the cup.
Right.
So that they can see what's there.
Right. Yeah. 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 I'm just kind of like, this is so cool.
It is.
I love hearing this, how all of this works.
And then I also tell people, Epsom salts, to take an Epsom salts bath, because Epsom salt is not salt.
Right.
But what it does is it draws toxins out of the body. So sometimes, depending on what a person's got going on, it's kind of hard if it's up here, unless they want to stand upside down in the bathtub. But if it's from the low back down, I just tell them, get in a hot bath of Epsom salts and put on some nice music or something and just hang out for 45 minutes.
I have actually put my feet up on the
I know,
other wall of the tub so I could get all of this in.
I know. So
I keep telling my husband, when we redo the master bath, I want a tub that I can I want it to be like,
it's called a soak tub.
Like 8 feet by 8 feet.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I always envy people who have a hot tub.
I do too.
It's like, oh, how great to be able to just go out and soak in a hot tub. But
we have talked about it, and actually my old boss, we met her for happy hour last week, and she mentioned that she has one and she loves it, and my husband's like, what are you doing? And I was like, don't worry, when we get a hot tub, it'll be your idea. So I just drop hints every once in a while.
With a lot of subtle input.
I just plant the seed.
Right.
And eventually he'll say, what do you think about getting a hot tub? I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know, hon. I think that would be a great idea.
You're so brilliant.
So you mentioned that you worked with a gentleman who unfortunately could not go to the Olympics because of the pain he was having. And this is just one story of many people who don't get to do what they want to do because of chronic pain.
Right. Thousands, millions probably.
Yeah. And I would, I hope going forward that this is one of the things that gets taught in school.
Mm-hmm.
I think that reading, writing, arithmetic, a lot of the stuff that kids are being taught in school, I think is so valuable. but I think they're missing the mark on some things like
Life
mental
skills.
health,
Well, and
self-care,
life
life
skills.
skills, how to pay attention to their bodies, how to
Yeah,
process certain things. Because if our parents don't know how to do those things, it's really hard to teach our kids how to
right.
do those things.
Yeah, it's true.
Um, so I think there should be some sort of teaching in a school setting, whether it's like one class a year or
Right,
something. But because we lose so much because we don't pay attention to our bodies early
right,
on, and it
right,
turns into chronic pain.
right. And the thing is, I can't tell you, Tina, how many people I've had come in this office, hundreds and hundreds. Oh, I mean, I've been doing this for 37 years, so I've seen
Yeah.
thousands of people. And they come in and they have um, chronic, totally debilitating pain that they've been everywhere. I just worked with a man who was only 53 years old and had to sell he was a general contractor, sold his business because he was in so much pain that he would cry. I mean, it
Yeah.
breaks my heart to think of a 53-year-old man crying because of
Yeah.
pain. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a son that's 58, and to think of my son crying
Yeah.
is just too much. But it turned out, so I had to cajole him to come in because he had been to everybody and he had given up.
Yeah.
And so finally, it's too long a story how I finally got him here, but it
You
finally,
got in there.
eventually it worked. And he came in. And what's happening is it's like if you pull your hair here, your scalp hurts.
Right.
Everybody's looking at the scalp. They're doing tests on the scalp. They're massaging the scalp. They're giving you drugs for the headache. They're doing all, but nobody's looking at the fact that you're pulling your hair.
Right. Right. Right.
Right.
Most doctors are going to treat the symptoms, not
Right.
the root cause.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when he came in and his knee was hurting, and I immediately went to the front of his hip, and he said, "No, it's not my hip, it's my knee." So actually, it's really funny. I said this whole scenario about, so the iliacus muscle does this, and the psoas muscle merges with the iliacus, and it causes the rectus femoral, blah, 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 blah. Right? I said it so many times that at one point I thought, I'm going to just tape record it. And then what I'll do is I'll push the tape record so it can play, and I can just do my work and they can. So then I thought, well, that's pretty tacky. Probably shouldn't do that. And finally, I wrote a book. It's called The 15-Minute Back Pain Solution because it just got so, I'm saying it over and over and
Yeah.
over again, but people don't know. And it's certainly not their fault. And in all honesty, it's not even necessarily the doctor's fault because
Because the doctors don't know.
well, I had a business partner who was internal medicine when I was up in New York. And we got into a whole big, this was before he became my business partner, a whole big conversation about why muscles cause pain. And it was a long conversation. And finally he said to me, "Julie," he said, "I went to an excellent medical university. I read all of the medical journals. Why don't I know this?" And I said to him, "Well, what did they teach you about muscles in medical school?"
Right.
So he thought about it for a while. And then he said to me, "They taught me how to cut them. They taught me how to sew them. And they taught me about diseases like muscular dystrophy." I said, "Well, there you go. They never taught you that a muscle that's tight is pulling on a joint, prevents you from moving in the opposite direction and causes pain."
Right.
He said to me, "Julie, I'm internal medicine. I am the first person people come to when they have pain. I should know this." And I said, "Well, I agree with you. You should."
Mm-hmm.
And to his credit, and I have so much respect and admiration for this man for this reason, he actually had me teach him.
Nice.
Now, we did it when nobody was around.
Right.
You know, I mean, he is a doctor and I am a massage therapist.
Right.
You know, but I remember one time coming into the office and he was backing out of a patient room, and he was saying, and I'm walking in the back door, right? And he's backing out of this patient room and he goes, "Now you don't need a knee replacement. You don't need to have don't worry about it. Just do what I showed you how to do and you're going to be absolutely fine." So I'm walking down the hallway and I went, yes. And he turned around and he went, with his thumbs up.
Yep. Yep.
Because it would amaze him. He would have me come in and see one of his patients, and within 15 minutes, they would be fine. And finally, when it happened a number of times when I first got there, and finally he said to me, okay, he says, I want to do that. He says, it doesn't take that long for you to do that. Now, he's not going to become a muscular therapist.
Right.
If it's not something that can be done that fast, it's not going to happen. He would refer them to me. And now my daughter lives there. And so he now refers them to my daughter up in New York.
Nice.
That is. But, it's like, I would love to teach. Doctors have a lot going on.
They do. And they have a lot they need to learn.
Right. I mean, so if they could even just learn the simplest basics.
Right.
So that they can say, all right, well, before we put you on this drug for whatever, let's first just take a look at the muscle. And here's a referral. Go see this therapist and have them work out the muscles.
Right.
And if that doesn't work, then we'll put you on this medication. That if they could even just do that much would be great.
Right. Right.
But
I think I'm guessing that a lot of what a lot of doctors might run into as well is people don't want to do some of the work.
Well, it's true. I mean, especially here in the West,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to
Eastern medicine,
Chinese and the
right.
Japanese and whatever.
Right.
People are looking they want instant coffee. They don't want
right.
They don't want to take the 7 minutes to brew coffee. They want instant coffee.
Right.
And it's the same thing. They want. And I tell people, no problem. I teach all of my clients how to self-treat, all of them. But they come in and I'll say, did you do what I told you? No. I said, that's fine. You can come to me as much as you want.
Right. I do the same thing.
I'm perfectly open for you to come to me and pay me.
Yeah.
But you could do it if you wanted to. And one time I was moving from out of New York, and this one client, I kept saying to him, George, you can do this. And I would try to, and finally one day he says, Julie, I don't want to learn how to do it. I just want you to do it. So I said, okay, fine. You can do it. Well, then I was moving and he came in and he goes, you were so bound and determined that I was going to have to learn how to treat myself. It's like, I'm moving cross country so that you can treat.
Right.
But the thing is, Tenya, most of the time, now not all of the time, thank heaven. I mean, I need to have some purpose in life.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you can do it yourself.
You can. You absolutely can.
My books, they call them the Bible.
Yeah.
And nobody reads my book from front to back. They look to see, okay, where am I hurting? They look it up. They might read enough just so that they can read the charts that are in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very rare that somebody just reads the book.
It's one of those books you don't have to read from front to back.
No.
You take what you need from it and leave the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. You might read it if you're bored.
Right.
That's fine.
So let's touch on, I really want to talk about this guy that you worked with.
Oh, Alan.
Yes, Alan, because you brought him from a space of where he just didn't feel like he could do anything to a space of where he now is. It's a
beautiful story, and it still kind of chokes me up when it happens. So what happened, Alan, in fact, when people watch the TED Talk, the clip of Alan running is the actual clip of the race that qualified him to be able to go to the Olympics.
Okay.
And this is, I guess it's 25 years ago now, or maybe longer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Anyway, he was 400-meter runner.
Okay.
And on this particular clip, you see, so it was a four-person race. He was the last person to get the baton. They were 35 meters behind the last person when he got the baton, and he won the race.
Wow.
Which shows you how fast he was.
Right.
Well, soon after that, he started getting a hip pain. Well, I mean, he knew he was going to the Olympics, and so he went everywhere that he could go to. I mean, he was searching for anything that would make that pain go away, and it didn't. So he missed out on the Olympics, and eventually the pain got so bad he couldn't run at all. And he got so depressed he couldn't even watch running on TV.
Oh,
because he was so depressed.
Right.
So finally, he lived in Houston, still does live in Houston. And if anybody looks him up, he'll tell you in person the way it worked out. Anyway, and I was in North Carolina at the time. So he comes up to North Carolina to work with this trainer who's like an internationally known trainer. And my therapy practice was in the trainer's gym. So I'm up in New York. He's there getting worked with Mike. And the day he's leaving, now think about all the things that could have happened. A red light changed his life. He's leaving, and I'm just walking in the door.
Oh, wow.
I mean, truly, a red light, me getting stuck by a red light would have meant he would have been gone before I got there.
Well, the universe works in mysterious ways.
Absolutely. It all works the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
When he's walking out, I'm walking in, and he's limping. So I looked at him. I said, "Why are you limping?" It's like limping is not an okay thing in the gym where I'm working. So he tells me this sad story about the Olympics. So I said, "Well, lay down on the floor. I want to see something." So I end up pushing. There's a muscle that's on the inside of your pelvis. It runs along the inside edge. It's called the iliacus. So I pressed on that. When I pressed on that, he literally started to cry. And he said to me, "That's it. That's it. That's the pain that got me out of the Olympics." And I thought to myself, "You've got to be kidding me." Actually, I said more than that, but we'll clean it up for the show. So it's like, what the heck were they working on? He has hip pain. What are you working on? His foot? I mean, why aren't you doing something to the hip? So he comes into my office, and I worked on him. And then I taught him how to self-treat. And then he says, "Thank you very much." He leaves, and he was really happy because he was out of pain. And he leaves, and I figured I'd never see him again. About 6 months later, I get a phone call, and he says, "Julie, go onto this site." So I go on this site. What had happened was when he got back to Houston, he felt so good, and it kept staying away, and he kept self-treating, that he started running and then training for competition and then competing, which he hadn't done in 20 years at that point.
Wow.
And so he had won a race that made him number 1 in the United States for his age group and number 2 in the world. So we were all excited and everything. So, okay, fine. Then another couple of months passes, and he calls him and goes, "Julie, go on this site." And he had just won a race that made him number 1 in the world in his age group.
Wow.
So I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
So he was all excited about that. Well, things keep happening. And when he called me up the next time, I thought he was going to come through the phone. Right? And so he says, "Go on this site." He had just broken the world record in his age group.
Wow. That's so awesome.
And he said to me, he says, "Julie," he said, "I didn't make it to the Olympics, but because of you, I'm in the record books, and nobody can ever take me out." And after that, he broke his own world record. I forget if it was 2 or 3 times, but his own world record.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, he broke it 3 times altogether. So after the first time, he broke it 2 more times.
Right. That's awesome.
I mean, think about it. And I mean, it was
He didn't need the Olympics.
Yeah,
that wasn't his path.
The Olympics would have been a wonderful thing.
It would have, but it wasn't his path. His path was to beat his own record.
Right. And so now he coaches young people, high school kids, how to run. I mean,
That's awesome.
and the thing is, he's gotten back into what he loves, and he does hold that world record. And the fact of somebody beating their own world record 3 times, I think
Yeah.
it's good luck on that one.
Absolutely. So you're going to show us how to self-treat a muscle.
Right. So you and I were talking about that you had pain in your back.
Yes.
At the shoulder.
At the shoulder blade, there's a knot that gets in there, and it's like at the bra line.
Right. In fact, maybe you showed me real clearly. Maybe you could
Yep.
show the audience.
Yep. That was just above my thumb.
Okay.
There.
Right. So I'll show you some. So just like I was saying, you know, if you pull your hair, it hurts somewhere else. So there's here.
Yep.
Can you see that nice and clear?
Yep.
Okay. So here's the spasm that you were talking about. That's the pain. You look at the charts and you find, so that's in red. So then you look for the muscle name that's in red, and then you follow the arrow, and that's going to show you where the spasm is that's causing that pain pattern.
Yep. Yep. We did work on it a little bit, and I'm telling you that now I have to like really feel around to find where it's tender.
Because when you force the acid out of it,
yeah,
the knot goes away, and that's it. Then it's gone.
Yeah.
And you're okay.
Yeah.
But now I wanted to show you another thing. So look at this.
Yep.
See here. So the pain was right in that area.
Yep.
That's orange. You look for the muscle name in orange. You follow the arrow and look at where the spasm is. This is the front. Obviously, there's his face. And that little circle there is the spasm that's causing this pain pattern.
So it'd be like up underneath of the.
It's in your rib. It's right. It's between the 2 ribs.
Yeah.
So now what's happening there? So let's say this is a rib.
Uh-huh.
And here, this muscle is called intercostals, and this is another rib.
Okay.
All right. It can happen for a bunch of reasons. If you have a serious cough, or if you've been running, or you've been doing something that's making you pant.
Mm-hmm.
So this muscle in between, when you breathe in, fill your lungs, that muscle has to lengthen to allow the ribs to separate so that your lungs can expand. When you want to breathe out, the muscle contracts, pulls the ribs closer together so that it forces the air out of your lungs.
Okay.
And that's how we breathe, is with this muscle called intercostal. Okay. 99% of the people don't even know that they have an intercostal. But
I didn't.
Before this whole thing, I didn't either. So no criticism there. Okay. But now, let's just say that you've been running. You're a runner. You love to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you're panting and you're going like this. Right?
Yep.
That's a repetitive movement. And you're making hydrogen ions.
Right. And it's lengthening because it's
actually starts to contract because it's being repetitively strained. Okay. And eventually it'll go like this, and then it won't move. Okay. You're now trying to breathe, but this now it can only go like this. Okay. And you're feeling, people say they have a side stitch. Yep. That's just a side stitch. Okay. Feels like somebody's shoving a pin into your rib. But in the meantime, this part of the rib is attached to your spine. And it's sitting in your spine like this. Mm-hmm. Because this tightened, it went like that. Now it's not sitting in your spine correctly. Gotcha. Obviously, this is a gross exaggeration. But anyway, but you get the point. Right. So it's pulling down, so it's not sitting in the spine correctly. Yeah. You're getting pain where you're feeling the pain here. Right.
Where it's attached to, where it's supposed to be attached to your spine. Yeah.
But you're also feeling it out here because this is supposed to be this way and now it's this way,
Gotcha.
which means the muscle's pulling here and here,
Right.
right? So what I always tell people is you find where you're having the pain, look and see exactly what muscle inserts at that exact point, which that can be a little challenging if you don't know your muscles. But
Right.
because you know something now, because of AI, you can probably find it a whole lot easier.
Probably.
You just go on and say, I'm having a pain at my rib. What muscles insert there?
Okay.
And then you just go look at them. Then you go to the belly of the muscle. So like the muscle has a tendon at one end, then the muscle, and then there's an attachment at the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the belly and start pressing around at the belly.
And the belly would be the actual muscle, not the attachment.
The actual
the
muscle.
tendon. Okay.
Not the
muscle.
attachment and not the tendon.
Right.
It's the actual muscle.
Yep.
And you just start pressing on it. And you're going to find what'll happen is you're going, okay. And then it goes, wah!
Okay.
You know, that is the point that you're going to work on. And all you do is you know, sometimes it's your finger, sometimes it could be your elbow, sometimes you're using a ball. There's different things that you can use to reach that.
Mm-hmm.
But you just hold pressure on it, and you hold the pressure for about 20 seconds, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Stay where you are, but let the pressure off for a couple of seconds.
Right.
The pressure was on, you were forcing hydrogen ions out of the muscle. When the pressure comes off, blood is filling the void.
Right.
You push back in again, and you saw it yourself with what we just
Yep.
demonstrated. When you go back, it doesn't hurt as much as it did the last time because
Right.
the percentage of blood to hydrogen ions has changed. So you just keep doing it. And usually after doing it 4 or 5 times, it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Which this is so amazing to me because I told you as an energy worker, I've worked on that muscle in that knot so many times trying to work the energetic trauma out of it.
Right.
When it almost sounds like I should have been working on this muscle
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
maybe anything in between.
Right. Well, it's more the rib there because that rib. So here's where the rib thing was.
Right.
Rib was as this is pulling here.
Right.
So let's say it's pulling here. You see what's happening there.
Yep.
So it's not happening here. It's not like the spasm.
It's on the other side.
The spasm's here.
Yeah.
And it's pulling down like this, and it's pulling this out.
Yeah. I'm flabbergasted.
You know, it's one of the joys of my life. Well, first of all, working with this osteopath, because I would have never known. I would have been like every other therapist who's out there. I mean, they all want to. You don't become a therapist if you don't want to help people.
Right.
Let's say 95% of them want to help.
Right.
Well, 5% just want to make money. But most people, most therapists of any ilk, whether it's massage, whatever. But if something's not shown to them, they just don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you go into this therapist and they know what to do, but they're not doing it because they don't, they want you to keep coming back. No, they want you to get better because word of mouth is the best advertising. And if I help you get better, you're going to tell 10 people.
Yep. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I want to work myself out of a job.
Yes. Yeah. Well, truthfully, that's why I have books. Because my parents both died very suddenly and very young. And so I've always had it in my head, like, I don't want to take this with me.
Right.
And so
it'd be selfish too, I think.
Well,
not share your knowledge. Right.
Yeah. And so that's why I would write books, and I self-publish only so that if I figure something new out, I can just change the document and
re-upload it.
Yep. And I self-publish, and I only print them like a few books at a time. Now I'm kind of I've learned most of it. But in the beginning, I used to only print them 5 at a time so that if I figured something else out, I didn't have this stack of books that didn't have that treatment in it.
Yeah. Julie, is there anything that that we haven't touched on that you want the listeners to know about?
Um, I guess the whole idea of self-treating, like don't, like with this fella that came in that I was telling you this week.
Mm-hmm.
So we cajole him to finally come in. And when he left, it still hurt. And this can happen if you go to a therapist, it might still hurt when you leave, partially because the acid that came through. But one of the joys of my life that I was starting to say is figuring out how to teach people how to do self-treatment. And all of those self-treatments were created on me, all of them. And so, but once I could do it on me, it's like, wow, I can show this to people.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like, don't throw in the towel right away. Look at, it's like, I would really wish people would look at muscles first, because you know what? It's easy. You look at the muscle. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And then you go further. But if you look at the muscle first, many times it's going to work and you don't need to go further. Right?
Yeah.
If they go to my website, I have a website, flexibleathlete.com. And I imagine you'll have that in show notes.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, in flexibleathlete.com, on the top corner is the Google reviews. And whenever I think to myself, I'm going to retire and that's it, I'm leaving. I mean, I'm going to be 82 in May. No,
wow, congratulations.
81. I just made myself
81.
So, but yeah, I mean, at some point I plan on retiring. God knows when. Literally, God's probably the only one who knows when. But whenever I get that urge, I go up and I read my Google reviews, and nobody writes one-liners except one person wrote a one-liner, and it says, "If you want a relaxing massage, this is not the place to come." But if you're in pain, this is the only place to come.
Right.
That's the only one-liner. The rest of them all wrote books about how they've been here, there, everywhere. And so it's like, do this first. Look at this first. It's so easy and it's fast, just like you saw with yourself, with pain in your back there. It's fast. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. Like what I told him when he came, when he left. So the first day he hurt, the second day it still hurt. But the third day, he was 80% out of pain.
Yeah.
And by the
sometimes it takes the body time to integrate, right? It takes the body time to adjust.
Absolutely. And then when he came to see me the second time, he was 95% better.
Yeah.
He said, Julie, he said, I'm out. I went out, I mowed the lawn. I mean, he had gotten to a point where he couldn't stand for more than 15 minutes at a time.
Wow.
They would just, he and his wife, the children had grown and had gone, and they had these big plans about they're going to go traveling and they're going to play golf together and they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And then this happened to him. She came to me and she gave me a big hug and she said, thank you. You gave me back my husband.
Aww.
But so then he finally, it turns out he had pain in other places of his body, but he had just told me about the worst place, which is the one that we worked on. And so I finally said to him, get back in here and let's figure out the rest of these things. Don't be ridiculous that you will live with it. Why do you want to live with it for?
Right.
Then I let my Italian. I have this name Donnelly, but I'm really Italian. my real name is D'Alessandro.
Oh, okay.
And I'm from New York, so I'm like, what do you mean?
You're big Italian.
Coming back in again. Of course you're coming back in again.
Julie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights. I learned something, and I will definitely be getting your book, because between my husband and I'm sure there's 4 or 5 chapters in there that we'll be looking at for sure.
and do read the chapter on how to read the charts.
I will, absolutely.
Don't
and they
read
can find
anything else.
Absolutely. They can find all of your books on Amazon?
No, none of them are on Amazon.
They're on your website.
My website.
Okay.
Go to the website, flexibleathlete.com, and then just go to,
okay.
I think it says products.
Okay, perfect. All right. And that will all be in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.